In December, a federal judge in Texas made a stunning decision regarding the Affordable Care Act. U.S. District Judge Reed O'Connor ruled that the individual mandate was unconstitutional, and therefore the entire law should be struck down and should be deemed unconstitutional. That decision was surprising to even the Trump administration, who was not arguing that the entire law be ruled unconstitutional. So fast forward to Monday. The Department of Justice announced that it agreed with that decision now, and that the entire ACA, the Affordable Care Act, should be deemed unconstitutional. Now, I guess this is a little bit odd. And actually, I shouldn't use the word odd, because I don't find that the Republican Party does really care about healthcare in this country, and the healthcare of many of the United States people. I don't really feel like they really care about that too much, just judging their actions and their attitudes. But it's interesting that this would happen right now. President Trump and the Republican Party have been arguing for years that they intend to protect the pre-existing conditions. They want to protect people with pre-existing conditions. They want to make sure that those particular people indeed have health coverage. If you get rid of the entire ACA, you're removing millions of people off of healthcare, because these private health insurers would have the ability to now kick them off and not provide coverage for that specific ailment that they may be experiencing. So the idea that Republicans care about people and they care about healthcare in this country, again, I don't think there's any evidence to that. But the second thing about why this is interesting, why this would be interesting now that this is happening right now, is you're going to be, just a few months ago in November, we had the midterms. And the House of Representatives was won by the Democratic Party. They made huge gains in November. And one of the central issues that they ran on, many of these Democratic candidates, they ran on the issue of healthcare. And many of them across the country backed something like Medicare for All, which would expand healthcare coverage, of course. And the Republican counterparts did not run on that. So it seems to be that they paid the price for that. So now it seems that you're going to be tasking the Republican Party, many of these Republicans that are already in office, you're going to be tasking them with defending the idea that pre-existing conditions should not be protected. Now, this, again, the Republican Party is going to be making a move to recapture the House of Representatives. And it seems that the Trump administration is making that even harder for them to do that.
Okay, so what you're saying is if the Republicans were really interested in providing some sort of health care to Americans, that would have been an issue that they would have run on during the midterms. And since they did not, what makes people think that Trump's word is valuable or means anything when it comes to his, I guess, claims of providing a better plan than the Affordable Care Act?
It's, there's no evidence. Like you said, there's no evidence that they actually intend to do anything like that.
Okay. So what is kind of the lowest common denominator as to why, I guess, this is being upheld? The lowest common denominator as to why this is being upheld. Who benefits from this?
Who benefits?
Yeah, who benefits from this?
That would be the private healthcare industry.
Exactly. Like, you know, if you don't have to cover pre-existing conditions, that means that alleviates you from risk, alleviates these companies from having any risk or having to shell out money. And their primary goal is to make money and not provide health care. That's the problem. That's why we need Medicare for All, because that overhead will be cut out. That overhead will be straight cut out.
Now, Trump today, on Tuesday, made a very interesting comment, and he was stopped by reporters. And of course, he was asked about the Mueller investigation and his reactions to the summary that was delivered by the Attorney General Barr. But he was also asked a question about this about the ACA and the newfound position of the DOJ that they agreed with that lower court ruling that the entire ACA should be ruled unconstitutional. This is what President Trump said.
Let me just tell you exactly what my message is. The Republican Party will soon be known as the party of healthcare. You watch. Thank you.
Will and I have had this discussion many times. And leading up to the 2020 elections, presidential elections, we were both wondering, like, what each party would try to present, like, right before the election. Like, we know it's coming. Like, what each party is going to do to sell themselves to the American people leading up to the election.
Right.
And primarily, we were kind of more worried about Donald Trump and the Republicans, because it does seem like the Democrats, or for the most part, have kind of solidified like what they're going to use, what issues they're going to use to present to the American people. And for the most part, these first 2 years of the Trump administration, he hasn't proved a lot. He hasn't proven a lot. So he's going to have to kind of reach into his duffel bag somewhere, just reach deep down inside and pull something up before the election to even sell to the American people that his first year wasn't a bust. First 2 years wasn't a bust, or first 4 years wasn't a bust when it gets to that point. So if what he's saying is true, I guess my inclinations tell me that they're possibly going to roll something out. I'm not saying I believe it, but I think that's something that has to happen now that he has said it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? They have to roll out something better. Now, do I believe they'll roll out something better? No. They may roll out something and present it as better, kind of like how they did with the tax reform bill, Tax Cut and Jobs Act.
See, I'm just not sure that they're actually going to roll out anything. They had a supermajority in Congress before.
Right.
They had the House.
Right.
They had the Senate.
Correct.
They had a Republican in the Oval Office.
That is correct.
And we saw nothing on that front. All they wanted to do was repeal Obamacare, but the whole replace part, they didn't really get around to that. They just wanted to repeal it. So I'm left with, okay, Donald Trump's words. Soon the Republican Party will be known as the party of healthcare. I don't know how, like, we have problems with the ACA. Many people have problems with the ACA, and rightfully so. If you want to provide something that is better, then you don't need to scrap the ACA to do that. You would just create some type of idea. You would get together with like minds or whatever, people that support your ideology and your, I guess, in your agenda, the way you want to go forth and do things. You would get together with those minds and present something that would actually benefit the American people.
It's just, man, whatever the plan they have might be secret, man. They just don't want the plan to get out, and the Democrats steal their thunder. Maybe that's the plan. They hashing the plan out in secret, man.
But wouldn't it have been better to actually like put that plan out while you had a Republican House and a Republican Senate, so that the Republicans could effectively pass this legislation and dismantle the ACA, because this is so much better.
Maybe they're playing that same game. I'm walking out on a very, very, very thin limb here. A thin branch. Maybe they're trying to play that same game that Democrats play. Maybe they're calling the bluff. Yeah. What if they present something knowing that they don't have control? You know what I'm saying? Then they try to pass it, and then the Democrats take the bait and find a way to stall it, and they get blamed. I don't know if the Republicans are willing to call the Democrats bluff like that, because we talk about that all the time.
Right.
If the Democrats were really interested in passing something, they would have kind of stuck their chest out when they had control for all those years.
That's true.
So maybe Republicans are playing that same game. I just don't think they're willing to play chicken like that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
So this is Chuck Schumer, the Senate Minority Leader, and he said on the floor of the Senate, the Trump position ties a 2-year anchor around the neck of every Republican for the next 2 years. Yet again, they will be forced to defend the indefensible. It's a stark reminder of the difference between our two parties. So like I said, this is going to be something, if this is truly their position, that the ACA should be deemed unconstitutional and pre-existing conditions effectively will not be protected, either they do create something that is to the benefit of all people, and they protect pre-existing conditions, or they're going to be faced with the reality of running these candidates that are running for re-election, and new Republican candidates that are trying to overtake or try to help overtake the House from the Democratic Party. They're gonna have to run on something like this because the Trump administration backs this idea.
They're gonna have to.
They have to.
Because if the party is known for that, that has to be an issue that they campaign on and run on.
And then you have to sell it as a good idea.
Whew. Well, I tell you what, they would blow my mind.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a completely different reality. Okay, this will be in a completely different reality in another world. If that happens, would that change your view of the Republican Party? That one thing. This just hypothetically, if that actually happened.
So
you can't even use it.
So you got to say it, because I can't just assume what you're saying. So if they actually present something that's, are you saying better than the ACA?
Medicare for all. I know. I know it's a stretch.
Come on.
But if what he says is true, that's what it would have to be.
Yeah, you're right.
That's what it would have to be. It would have to be something better than what progressive Democrats are presenting right now. Yeah. So if that happens,
well, that's not a reality.
That's not even a reality. That's not the question. We're not in this reality.
You're asking me like, hey, if money falls from the sky, will I be happy about it?
See, why isn't Will trying to play my hypothetical game? He's scared to answer. No, you see this, right? He's trying to avoid it.
It's ridiculous. They would not be the Republican Party anymore. You're talking about a party that would not be the Republican Party anymore. They would give up being the Republican Party at that point. You're telling me that's the reality? Or that's possible?
I didn't say that was possible, nor did I say that was a reality. I said we're in a different reality. We're in an alternate universe.
We're using alternative facts.
Yes, we are. Thank you. Exactly. In a Kelly and Kanye world.
Yes. No. That's my answer. I wouldn't support the Republican Party. That would be fool's gold.
But you would support the Republican Party on this issue.
Yes.
But it wouldn't make sense unless they supported that issue and then brought other progressive issues with them.
Right.
You just can't.
They're just not going to transform into something else.
You wouldn't just cherry pick that one issue and be like, we're for it.
Again, they would be transforming into something else. In 2019, we know that this Republican Party is far right. To hop on to something that is deemed to be far left? Oh, please, no. That's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Until and when they feel that their future is in jeopardy, like the future of the Republican Party is in jeopardy, that's the only way they make actual moves like that.
When their back is against the wall.
That's the only way.
Okay.